Hey guys, today we're going to be recreating some music from Dune Part 2. Alright, so we're going to be looking at the music from the Worm Ride scene. I went and watched it at the theatre and I was blown away by the music from Hans Zimmer. So I've loaded up a few sounds here. I've got a few synths. If you'd like to learn how to create your own synths, I recently did a video on that, so jump across to our channel and you can find that there. So I'll just run you through them. For our synth basses, we've got this. Created this one. This one here is going to be doing our big stabs. Then I've got our lead synths. I love that one. And we've got this one here. And the idea when making all these synths is that you blend them all together and then it sounds like one big synth in the end. So I've got a few others here. I've got this one. Created this one. Then I've just got a sub bass, which is just going to be doing the root notes. Then I've got a lead vocal, which is going to be at the beginning of the track doing the lead vocal part, and she sounds like this. And for her, I'm using this sound library, Ethera Gold. I think she sounds really good. Then we've got some synth sound effects. Got some chimes. And we also have a whole orchestra ready to go. So that's going to be laid underneath the track. In the actual track, it's very synth heavy, so you can't really hear the orchestra in there. It sounds like they're in there, but they're very subtle. So I've just got our strings, the basses, celli, violas, first violins, second violins. I've got our brass section. I've got a choir set up, and I've got our percussion ready to go. So I've got a timpani drum. I've got some big drum hits that we're going to use, and it's going to sound really cool. All right, so let's jump in. What I like to do first is start with the bass track. So we'll start with that. Let's go to our synth bass. This for recording. I've got the tempo ready to go. Alright, quantize that guy. So let's select Control A, Control U to quantize. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move him down. I'm going to duplicate it and put him on our sub bass. It's in a good octave. That's sounding good. Alright, what I'd like to do as well is I've got these synth bass tracks, so I'm going to duplicate that just to thicken up this bass line. So let's see how it sounds on here. That's sounding cool. Alright, now this guy here. Let's move that down. Let's thicken it up. Alright, sounding pretty cool. I think what we should do now is jump down to our percussion. So I like to start from the bottom and work my way up. So let's go down here. And now there was a really nice sub hit that I found. For the drums, I'm using the Action Strikes plugin. I think they're really good and they sound really good. Alright, so let's see what sounds we've got to work with. I'm liking this for the big main hit. And I reckon we could use a few of these reverse sound effects. I think they'd sound great. Alright, let's have a play. Chuck the tempo back on. what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this so I've got more control of the volume of this second hit. I think he should go there, and I think that one should go here. Alright, sounding pretty cool. Now let's jump up to our synth lead tracks. So let's see how they're sounding. So I've got this guy here. Now once we throw this in, the song's going to really start coming together. Alright, now we're going to thicken up that synth, and we're going to duplicate it across these other tracks. So let's see how it sounds on this guy. Now usually what I like to do once I've got a lead part is have another synth playing the same pattern but an octave higher, and I like to blend that in. So I'm going to duplicate that to this synth that I made. But I'm going to select all these notes and I'm going to move them up by an octave. We're sounding pretty good. Now what I'm gonna do is I've got these chimes, and I heard on the song on that first hit there's something in there, and I think it could be chimes. So I'm gonna chuck these in just on that first hit, make it really subtle. That's going a little long, so I want it to end here. Alright, now let's start working on the orchestra. So this is going to thicken up the track as well. So let's start with the basses. I'm just going to have them playing the bass line. So we can grab this, move that down to here. Now with the basses, if they're just playing long root notes, I like to have them playing 2 octaves. Depends on the song, but usually that sounds pretty cool. So I'm going to move these down to here just to thicken it up. Alright, now for the celli, let's move this down and we'll remove this and we'll put in some fifths on top. So we've got D, so we'll chuck in an A. Alright, they're sounding really cool. Let's start working our way up the orchestra. So now we've done the basses, we've done the celli, let's work on the violas. It's a pretty simple track. We just want it to sound really grand and really big, so we just want long notes, just doing the root notes. So we're just going to layer that up in octaves. Usually set them an octave above the celli as well. Let's see how this sounds. So move them up an octave. Alright, starting to sound pretty cool. Alright, so that's sounding pretty good. Let's move on to the violins. So we'll move this down. Now maybe for the violins we can add in another octave. Alright, I think that's sounding pretty cool. Let's move on to our lead violins. So let's arm this for recording. All right, let's record that in. Alright, that sounds pretty cool. Let's just jump in there, fix up that little bum note that I made. Let's quantize all this. Now let's move this guy up an octave for our second violins. Let's jump in there, move all these guys up. Should sound pretty good. Alright, I think that's working for our string section. Now let's move on to the brass. I've got some nasty low brass sounds here. By the way, for the orchestra, I'm using Albion One and a little bit of Albion 3. So for my strings, I've got Albion 1 and Albion 3. There's a few brass sounds in there that I like. So I'm thinking for the brass, we'll just put in the root notes. So we can grab that from our basses. Chuck that in here. Let's see how this sounds all together. Alright, that's sounding pretty cool. Alright, now let's put in some lead horns. Now for these, I think it's important we add some dynamics to them. So let's play around with the velocity. So if we go into the plugin, we can actually set up these dynamics for automation. So I can control that from here. All right, let's have a crack at this. Okay, that's sounding pretty cool. Alright, now let's start working our way up the brass section. So we've done our tubas, we've done our horns, now let's do our trumpets. So I'm going to move this lead pattern down. Alright, so that's sounding pretty cool for our brass section. Now let's chuck in a choir. Alright, that's sounding pretty cool. Now let's move back down to our drums. Let's go to our timpani drum. So this guy, I'm just going to have him doing the main hits. Not sure about that last note, so let's get rid of that. Alright, that's sounding pretty cool. I've got another Chimes track here I'm going to throw in. Just for that first hit again. Alright, I think that's sounding pretty cool, nice and subtle. Now let's bring in everything else and see how it sounds all together. Sounding pretty cool. Alright, now let's jump a little bit further back to the start of the track. And we'll add in that first section with the vocals. So let's start off with the low synth pad. Chuck that in. And we want that build to end right where this is going to start. So right, now let's jump back up to our vocal and let's throw in that lead melody. And again, we want her peak to be ending right when that part comes in. Let's see how this sounds. All right, it's coming together. It's coming together. Now, one last thing, I feel like we need just a little bit of intensity build up in this section here, just before we hit this big epic part. So I've created one more synth here. It's a bit of an airy sound. And I think we can use this to build up the intensity as we get to the ending. Alright, so let's just have a listen to these new synths and see what we've created here. Beautiful. And I love how that kind of fades over as well. It's going to sound nice. Alright guys, that's sounding pretty cool. I'm just going to do one last thing. On the big main hits, we're just going to add in a really low piano. So, and it's a little production trick that makes those hits sound really impactful. Alright guys, I think that's looking pretty good and sounding pretty cool. Let's have a listen to the final product. There you have it, guys. I hope that was fun and I hope you learned something. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe. I'd love to have you guys on board. Also, feel free to comment below. Let me know what you would like to see next, whether it's production techniques or another cover, and I'll do a video of that. And I'll see you in the next one.